was awesome.
Yeah.
It was really cool. All right, here we go. Episode 102 here at pucksports.com. We got the great Rob Staton, SeahawksDraftBlog.com with us. He's a weekly visit every Thursday here on May 16th. Brought to you by Superior Linen Service, family owned and operated since 1926. They provide the highest quality of products and service to the greater Puget Sound area. Get a free quote today at suplinen.com or give them a call, 253-383-2636. Check out Rob's work, SeahawksDraftBlog.com, which you can go up there right now. Get his thoughts on the schedule release. Also, his YouTube and Twitter page at Rob Staton. If you're looking on YouTube, it's actually Rob Staton Football there, by the way, but you'll find it all. He's got content up there all the time. The guy is just making things work. And he's burning the midnight oil all the time. He was on with us yesterday on our schedule release where Rob predicted. You remember what it was?
Yeah, I remember what it was because like two people have told me already, like, what are you doing predicting that? Like 11-6? Are you crazy? And then like I continued watching after I got off and you were chatting to Tim Booth and you were being a lot more like the two of you were being a lot more modest. Like, yeah, 9-8 would be a good season. I'm kind of sat there thinking, what the heck was I thinking? Like saying 11-6. You put that out there, people will hold you to that. Like people will be on my ass like in January. Like, what are you 11-6?
Yeah,
like, come on, man. But maybe I'll be right, and I'll look the sage one here in a few months' time.
Well, and that's what we'll do. If you're right, we just go back and we say, "See, he was right." Now, when you're wrong, we never bring up when anyone's wrong. It's only when it's the only thing we ever do is we bring up when someone's right. But your methodology of like how you got to 11-6, like it, I didn't disagree with it like at all. Really, I mean, there might have been a game in there, but I was like. Yeah, I see where you were coming from, for sure.
There's various things you kind of have to think about. So, like, purely on the who is the opponent and how good they are, the Seahawks have got a chance to win a bunch of games next year. The thing that I suppose maybe I didn't take into account, and it's very difficult to take this into account when you're kind of just running down the schedule about 20 minutes after it's come out, is the effect of what will it be like for the Seahawks to have a rookie head coach, a rookie, not just offensive coordinator, because obviously Ryan Grubb has been an offensive coordinator, but to do it in the NFL for the first time. Mm-hmm. And then just the sort of the various other things. It's a complete new staff. You know, there's very little experience on the staff. There's basically one guy who's been there, done it, got the T-shirt. And then I hate to bring it up, Puck, but it's that sort of the quarterback thing that just I keep coming back to. That I know whenever I mention this or whenever anybody else mentions this, it always provokes a strong reaction. But Geno Smith, to me, is always going to be a player who can give you 4 or 5 games of fantastic top-level football where, you know, everybody thinks he's the next big thing and it's great and the Seahawks have got their guy, but then he's very capable of giving you 4 or 5 games where, you know, they can't move the ball for a half. So I maybe didn't consider that as much as well when I was making my extremely positive and hopeful and optimistic 11-6 prediction.
Well, here's the thing with Geno Smith, and I do share your concerns, and I think there's other people that share your concerns as well. And it's first of all, you should have concerns about it. I mean, there's a reason why he was a backup for his entire career before kind of revitalizing himself here in Seattle. I think there is still that like first round level talent with him. And I think it's in there. And I think he's always kind of had it. I think the one thing that I've gone back and we've talked about this before where like I'm in a weird way more excited for Ryan Grubb than I am for Mike McDonald. Because I just kind of want to see what he does at the NFL level, Ryan Grubb with you know, kind of, you know, better players and better tools and all that. Geno Smith's got a great arm and he can throw it downfield a long ways and it's real accurate. And there's nothing more than Ryan Grubb that he likes to do than push the ball downfield. And you saw that with Michael Penix. So, I mean, I'm a little excited about that, but yeah, I get it. I totally get it. I think for the first time, I would say for Geno, he's got a real like mastermind offensive coordinator who is willing to find matchups and expose the defense like McDonald wants to do on defense. I mean, you know, Shane Waldron wasn't that guy. I can't tell you who the other offensive coordinators were for Geno Smith. He bounced around a bunch of different teams, but I bet you on paper, this is the best guy he's ever had calling plays in his head.
I can't remember. I think it's Robert Mays. Apologies, I can't remember the name if anybody wants to check this out, but I think it's the Athletic podcast, I think, where I
Okay.
heard this. I heard a clip. I didn't listen to the full episode, but they were talking about what the Seahawks did under Shane Waldron. And this guy was saying on the podcast host that when they broke down the tape, it was very difficult for Geno Smith because he was essentially being asked to throw a lot of deep stuff. There were no easy throws being schemed. There was, I think they pulled out a stat that said that the Seahawks were the lowest ranked team on sort of in routes, just sort of, and the argument that was being portrayed here was that when you watch Shanahan and McVay, they have a lot of those plays, those gimmies for the quarterback to get him into a rhythm. It's third down. You're going to go to a play that is quite easy for the quarterback to get a completion. It gives you a high probability of moving the ball. It can put this quarterback into good situations. You're not constantly asking them to throw 1v1 outside, when you need a conversion, let's say. And that the feeling was that if Ryan Grubb does nothing else, if he could just have some of his receivers running inside, like on slants, for example, or just running crosses and giving the quarterback, a few easier throws, that Geno Smith actually could become a very effective quarterback. I have real sympathy for that argument. I think it's a great case to be made. And I think that Ryan Grubb will do a bit of that. Obviously, I've spoken to a couple of Huskies who played for him, and they called him like a mad scientist. That he is so versatile, he is so flexible, he's always trying to find weaknesses, and that's something that I don't think they ever did under Carroll. I never saw them exploit a bad aspect of a defense and sort of say, "Oh, there's our guy, there's their weakness. We're going to drive that home and make them stop that." And then we're going to come up with a counter punch. It always kind of felt like the Seahawks were just going to play their way, and often they were outthought and outcoached, especially in the last few years. So I'm looking forward to seeing a bit of that. I guess the one thing, Puck, that I come back to with Geno, and again, I'm not harboring hate for Geno Smith or anything like that. But last year he was a free agent, and he could have gone and got maybe not a Jared Goff contract, but a contract that was maybe a notch down from what Jared Goff's just got. Nobody bit. He ends up signing a team-friendly deal in Seattle. This offseason, Seattle dangled the carrot. They made Schefter very aware that contract was good for a trade, and he put that out there, and nobody bit. The GM and the head coach could barely bring themselves to talk about Geno Smith while pumping up Drew Lock, who's not even in with the team anymore, who was going to be a free agent. They constantly talked about him. None of this, maybe all of these people are wrong, and Geno is the real deal, and he's going to prove them all wrong again, as he did a couple of years ago this season. I hope that's the case because I'm a Seahawks fan.
Yeah.
But there's so much trending there against that because, if the league's not interested, if the team's kind of not interested, do you just sort of have to read the room a little bit?
Yeah. All right. You've had a night to sleep on it here a little bit. Have you come up with a game that you're going to come out to?
Well, I did have a look, and the sad thing is it seems as if, I don't know why, I don't know what's happened in the world since like November last year, but the prices are like a lot more expensive than they were last year. Like the flights, sort of looking at it, I was thinking, it's gone up by about 30%, but it's not going to put me off. What it is going to mean is that I'm probably going to just bide my time. Like last year, I booked a hotel and a flight the day that the schedule was released, and I thought, I want to go to Thanksgiving. I'm going to go to that Niners game. What I'm going to do this year is I'm going to wait for the schedule for the English football to come out in June, and then I'm going to make a call because I want to. There's, for example, the two big teams in the area that I cover are going to play each other this year because they're in the same division. So I need to wait and see what that is before making a call. But I still very much aim to get out there.
Okay.
It's probably going to be a month away before I decide which game it is that I'm coming out.
Well, there's got to be a couple of though that are in the hopper though that you're deciding between. Okay. Just give the fans what they want to know and hear. You're a rock star. They want to come over. They want to meet you. There's probably going to be an autograph session at some point at some place that will open up where people can take pictures with you. You can sign something. So they need to know. I mean, what is it going to be?
There was one time, and I can't remember the gentleman's name who did this, but somebody actually came to the hotel that I was staying at in 2016, 2017, and left a gift at reception in the hotel and
See?
emailed me saying, listen, I've just left something for you. And it was like this Christmas decoration, which was Seahawks related. So if they're listening to this, thank you. I've still got that. It goes on our tree every year. So I really
Yeah,
appreciate that.
that's cool.
So the games I'm kind of looking at, I think I mentioned yesterday, the Giants on the 6th of October would be interested in combining that with Washington against Michigan. I am interested in the Arizona game, which is on the 24th of November, mainly because, as we discussed, Puck, I am looking for a game the Seahawks might have a chance of winning, and I've earmarked that as a winnable game at home to Arizona on the 24th of November.
Okay.
I have had a little bit of a glance at the Buffalo and Rams games. Now, the Buffalo game would be good because it times perfectly with my son's holidays, vacation in with school. So he's off school when that Buffalo game is being played. So
Perfect.
if I was to take him, that it would have to be the Bills game. So that is also a potential option there. And then if I'm doing a solo effort, I think that the Huskies are playing USC the same weekend that the Seahawks are playing the Rams. So that is a possible doubleheader as well.
There you go. All right. See, now we can arrange for, you'll be like the Beatles when you pull up to wherever you're staying. People are coming out there and women are throwing underwear at you. Wouldn't that be something? Instead of Christmas ornaments.
My drink is an old fashioned if anybody is planning
Is it
on
really?
buying a drink. So
okay.
So
I make a mean old fashioned. So I mean, we're gonna treat you right when you come out here, Rob Staton. All right. So 11-6, you haven't moved off that. You kind of like 11-6 still, or you want to revise what you said yesterday.
I don't know, because it just feels like 11-6 is very, very good. For like a new coaching staff.
Yeah.
What were the Texans last year? What was their record?
I can give me 2 seconds. I'll pull it up for you, because I want to go through Cynthia Freeland at the NFL.com. She did a whole she does all the expected wins, and I'll go through what she has every team, and then of course, we'll just focus on the Seahawks. Houston, they were 10-7 last year.
I will revise it down to 10-7 just to be a little bit more modest about it, because I do genuinely think that the Seahawks can improve. I think that the fact the schedule's a bit easier than it was last year, the defense is going to make I think a pretty drastic improvement. And as I'm speaking, Puck, I want to just say screw it. I'm going to stick with 11-6 because when I think about that is it's 2 wins. Like if you think about it, the Seahawks are pretty crap in a lot of games last year. And they got 9 wins. So, if they're less crap, and actually, if the offense can avoid those Waldron-inspired, we're not gonna get a yard for 2 quarters. If they can avoid that, and if the defense can avoid we're going to give up 100 points and 100 rushing yards every game and stuff like this, then actually 11 wins doesn't seem that ridiculous. They've got some players in Seattle. They've got some good players. I don't see them being a playoff major contender, because if they play one of these top teams in the NFC, I think they'll probably fail, especially on the road. But I do think 11 wins in the regular season, I don't think it's not that ridiculous.
Cynthia Freeland has got them in her model that she did, and she does, for people who don't know what she does, she's a lot of fantasy stuff, but it's analytics, numbers, projecting wins and things like that, and who's going to be hot, who's not. And she's got them at basically 9-8. She's got them at 8.8 wins. Now, Vegas, are you a gambler? Do you like sports wagering?
I do on the NFL, because the bookies over here don't know anything. So there's often some great deals to be had. I won £2,000 once on a 8 touchdown. I think you guys call it a parlay. We call it an accumulator. And,
okay.
And I was waiting on Josh Jacobs to complete the thing, and it got to like the 4th quarter, and the Raiders were well ahead against the Broncos, and I accepted defeat at that point. And then with about 3 minutes left, he ran one. The Broncos basically gave up, and he ran 50 yards from halfway to score a touchdown. And it disturbed my wife, who was asleep in bed. She came, "What's going on? What's going on?" We've just won £2,000. So there we go.
So we call it a parlay. You call it a what again?
An accumulator, or an ACCA for short.
An Acker. Okay, got it. See, again, it's just better. It just sounds better. I
You've got to have
wish
an Acker.
we
You've got to
would
have an
have.
Acker
Yeah,
every week.
of course you do. This is perfect. All right, we might have to find a gambling sponsor for this as well. All right, so their win total is 7.5. She's got them at 8.8 wins. I just want to quickly read you what she wrote. She says, I think the Seahawks are being a bit undervalued, both generally speaking with my own model. As far as the schedule goes, they open up the season with a pair of winnable games. We talked about this yesterday on the live show. Denver, New England, 2 rookie quarterbacks. She also said, in looking at every team's hardest 4-game stretch, according to my calculations, the Seahawks rank 26. They have the 7th easiest quartet. If this team is to exceed expectations, though, will need vast improvement in the run defense. They rank dead last in first downs allowed on the ground, yada, 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 and all that. And she writes, Byron Murphy should help in that department. But, we talked about that yesterday when we did the live show, Rob, that I don't know if you could start off the schedule better by facing 2 rookie quarterbacks with a defensive-minded coach like Mike McDonald.
Well, they've got to stop the run, but it's not just Byron Murphy. They've signed Jonathan Hankins, Hank the Tank, who can, is about 350 pounds. Who's going to, they didn't have a player like that last year, and I think a lot of people in Dallas were expecting that their first round pick, in 2023 was going to replace him, and he kept the job because he was better. I'm just looking at last year's win totals for a number of teams. Like the Browns got to 11-6, and they basically had the husk of Deshaun Watson's career for a handful of games. They had PJ Walker, was it? Is that right?
Yeah.
He played Seattle. What a memory. And then they had Joe Flacco, and they had the guy that they DTR from UCLA. So they had 4 quarterbacks, and they got 11 wins playing good defense and running the ball. And they're playing the AFC North, and every team had a winning record in the AFC North. So when I look at stuff like that, I think, why not? The Colts got to 9 wins. I'm not trying to offend a kook here, but with Gardner Minshew, at quarterback.
Timeout. I don't know why we've got it like crap on Gardner. Okay, that man is a living legend, and is going to kill it in Vegas. Are you kidding me? That guy on and off the field, Jesus.
So the other ones, like the Eagles, were pretty awful at the end of the year, and they got to 11 wins. And then the other 2 that I was going to mention is like the Saints. Think about how bad the Saints were a year ago.
Yeah,
they got to 9-8. So, like, is it beyond? Like, I'm agreeing with you. Like, Ryan Grubb, even with his lack of NFL experience, is a major upgrade on Shane Waldron. I just think he's awful, and it's quite hilarious to hear Chicago talk themselves into the Shane Waldron experience. And then you've got Mike McDonald, who, listen, with the greatest respect, we all respect Pete Carroll. Clint Hurt is not the defensive coordinator. Mike McDonald took a defense from, I think, 28th to 8th to 1st in, the space of 2 seasons in Baltimore with no, he didn't have Myles Garrett or Nick Bosa. So I'm thinking that there's going to be a rapid improvement on the defense. I think the offense have got so many weapons that even my concern about the quarterback position is stymied somewhat by the fact that they have got a lot of weapons. I'm going to stand by that 11 wins. And I just think that it may be a bit of a false dawn that we may go into a playoff game, Puck, thinking they've got a chance here and they might fall flat on the face against the Niners or somebody in the playoffs. But I think that I'm taking that right now, that opportunity to have that week where, you and I and everybody else are talking about, can the Seahawks as an 11-win team win in the playoffs? That sounds pretty good to me in May.
Here's your favorite topic. How many of those wins are going to be led by Sam Howell?
Oh, do you know what? I don't know, because Geno missed games last year with injury.
Yeah.
So, he is 34. I know people keep saying, but he didn't play many games. But as someone who has never played an NFL game and has seen his body deteriorate physically, I can tell you that it's not just about how many NFL games you play. That means when you get old, you get old. So, like Geno Smith, getting into his mid-30s, he's not suddenly like, I know he ran fast a few weeks ago and he tweeted about it, and everyone's like, look, he ran the fastest run on the team. It's like, yeah, apparently they do that every week, and he's not posted anything since then. So I think the others may have caught up a little bit.
Yeah, yeah. Maybe they do a little more read option with him now. Just start getting him on the outside, fleet-footed Geno Smith. You know what? You talked about this the other day. In fact, you did a video on it because you're so disgusted. And thank God, by the way, that we need people like you. We need brave people like you to speak the truth when it comes to these action green uniforms, because they need to be burned. They need to be burned. They never need to be worn ever again. It's stupid. It's the worst uniform in professional sports, and they need to stop ever bringing those out. And you want more throwbacks. In fact, I want the throwbacks to be the permanent uniform.
Yes.
And maybe someday we'll get our wish. But if the Broncos and Seahawks do not wear their throwback uniforms when they meet week 1, then somebody in both organizations in the league have done it wrong, because the Broncos, their throwbacks are just beautiful, and so are the Seahawks. And they're two AFC West rivals that need to, when they kick off the NFL season, be in their throwbacks. I hope they make it happen, Rob.
Yeah, I mean, they can do, because the colors, I know it's not often that. Basically, it was just when they had the color rush thing, which is why the green jerseys emerged in the first place. The blue of Seattle and silver does not create a clash with the orange and the white of the Broncos. So you could easily have those two teams in their throwbacks if you were minded to in that first game, and it would look fantastic. And look, the Broncos have got a fantastic throwback unit. I don't know what on earth they were thinking, bringing out that disaster of a home uniform when they've got such the perfect throwbacks. But have you seen the thing today from the Giants, Puck?
Yes, I did. I don't know. I like the helmet, but everything else, no.
It looks like they're about to go and play polo on a horse.
Yeah.
I was like, get that man his horse and his polo stick, because it looks ridiculous. It looks like a Ralph Lauren advert.
It does.
But the thing is I was looking at that and I was saying, yeah, they're still better than the action green. I mean, like, the action green it's just, I get it. Like, I think Paul Allen's, it was his thing to like have that color green as a thing. And I guess, 20 years ago, it was different. It was fresh. It was new. It was a bit more exciting. But I think that we've come past that now. We've seen these beautiful blue and silver throwbacks, and everybody seems to agree they look fantastic. There's still one or two people who go, leave it in the past. And I just love to see that every week. It was so frustrating seeing it in the Browns. The sun's out in Seattle. The jerseys are shimmering. And you're
so
thinking,
clean.
So clean, so crisp. It looks perfect. And you can't do better than that. And if they still want to have a navy alternative, I'm down with that. Like, wear a navy alternative as a nod to the past once or twice a year like they do with the throwbacks. But let's have those throwbacks every other game, because they just look so damn good.
I know. I just, and the guy who is in charge of it all, hey, Chuck Arnold, if you're watching or listening, Chuck, come on, you're a Coug. You want to do it. Just do it already. Pull the plug on all the other uniforms. Just go to the old school and wait till you see the whites. I mean, when they do the silver pants and the white tops, my God, that's even more beautiful than what they have now with the blues. All right, so we kind of get into a downtime right now here with the NFL. I mean, really, until training camp comes back around, and we're not talking the third week end of July. So there's not much. Obviously, there's going to be news there on the Seahawks. And we'll address this when we get back into minicamp. And I know where your concerns are going to be. Let's move past, because we know about the quarterback. We know about Geno. Still, as we sit here, as we record this May 16th, they're deficient where?
Offensive line.
How many years have we done? How many years have we had the same storyline?
Yeah, I mentioned it to you in the past that I think I've got major reservations about Charles Cross.
Okay.
I was never a big Charles Cross fan. I didn't like the pick. I think a lot of people thought, well, it's a left tackle. I think a lot of people projected him to go there. But there were also a lot of people who didn't. Like, I think he was like 22nd on Daniel Jeremiah's big board. And I thought he was a second-round player and thought he should go between 20 and 40. And they take him in the top 10, and you can say, okay, fair enough. he's a left tackle. I'm not going to quibble about that. That's the kind of position I want them to spend a top 10 pick on. But he needed to get stronger at Mississippi State. He's never done that. And he still looks like exactly the same player I was watching in the SEC, which was someone who, can get his feet into the right place, but then often got mowed down. And when he engaged, he struggles. And I still think we see that on tape. So I want to see him make a step forward. And then you sort of look in the interior, there's questions at left guard, center, there's going to be a rookie at right guard. What's going to happen with Abe Lucas? That's the area for me. So even though I'm spending all of my time, Puck, and I must admit I was telling myself don't do it this week, but I have spent the week in my spare time watching quarterbacks for next year. Although that's where all of my spare time is going right now. I do think the offensive line is the more pressing issue right now today.
What is the class next season? Just real quick with quarterbacks. I'm just blanking on it.
Okay, so let me read the names of
Quinn Ewers.
Okay, so we have Quinn Ewers, who I think scouts will like a lot more than the media. So I think you're going to hear a lot of media bashing Quinn Ewers over the next few weeks, but I think scouts will like him more because he's technically very gifted. You have Carson Beck, who is kind of like, I'd say, a better version of J.J. McCarthy. Mm-hmm. You've got these are some of the players that I like that are not getting talked about. Brady Cook at Missouri, I think, is a good player.
Yeah,
You've got Jackson Dart. That's a great name. I mean, who doesn't want a quarterback called the second name is Dart?
And especially because and then it's the X too.
Yeah, so Jackson Dart of Ole Miss has got a lot of potential there. I don't know whether I think he's somebody who has to take a step forward, but he did play well last year. I've kind of come to him. Max Brosmer has just transferred to Minnesota. He's a very interesting player. You've got Shadir Sanders, but I think he's basically tweeting his way into the third round at this point. And then Cam Ward's gone to Miami, but say a prayer for Cam Ward. I mean, I'm an atheist, so I won't be sending a prayer. But if you are that way inclined, send a prayer to him because he's working with Mario Cristobal next year. So that could be the death knell for his career, I'm afraid. And then there's a few others like there's Tyler Van Dyke who's gone to Wisconsin. He's battling for a job there. Could be very interesting. Garrett Nussmeier's been waiting forever for a chance at LSU. You've got Will Howard who's gone to Ohio State.
Yeah, it's not a great class.
There's the one player who I think is really interesting is Riley Leonard, who has gone from Duke to Notre Dame.
Notre Dame, that's right.
Yeah. Now, there's a problem here, Puck, because he injured his ankle in a game against Notre Dame, funnily enough, at the end of last season. Should have been out for the season. He rushed himself back. The coach who's gone to Texas A&M should have known better and said, you ain't playing. He played him in 2 games. He re-injured the ankle. He's just had another ankle surgery because it's never healed. He's missing all of spring training. And there's doubts as to whether he's going to be ready for the season. So if he can get ready for the season, he has got a ton of potential. He could be the guy who, especially now he's at Notre Dame, could really rise. I wish he was playing for an offensive-minded coach, but he could really rise during this process. And he's somebody to keep an eye on. Riley Leonard, very interesting.
Okay. What do you got? What are you burning up over there at SeahawksDraftBlog.com right now? Give us the latest in the written word, and then of course some videos. What do you got up there right now?
Yeah, well, I'm kind of doing videos on anything that I feel like talking about at the minute, and that was where the throwback versus action green came in, and I'll get into a few things like that.
It was the best piece you've done, and it is the best piece you've done. And you were speaking to I felt when I watched it, you were speaking to me.
I just keep thinking about the day that they are going to use the action green this year, and I'll be watching the game, and I'll spend the whole game thinking they could be wearing the throwbacks here, and they're not. But then, so the word that I'm doing right now is I need to sort of I try and watch every game that these quarterbacks play. I need to see at least 3 before I can pass comment on them. But my next big article is going to be a piece where I give a thought on, if not all of the list, there's a longer list of quarterbacks. If not a list on all of them, then half of them, so that people can kind of have a feeling on where this class is. I mean, I do think it's a class that has got some potential, but I also think it's a class where the depth rather than the top 10 picks are going to be there at quarterback next year.
Yeah. All right. We'll be on the look for it. Rob Staton, SeahawksDraftBlog.com. Again, his weekly appearance here at PuckSports.com. Brought to you by Superior Linen Service, family owned and operated since 1926. They provide the highest quality of products and service to the greater Puget Sound area. Get a free quote today at suplinen.com. Give them a call, 253 383-2636. Again, check out Rob's work, SeahawksDraftBlog.com, YouTube page, and X at Rob Staton. You're the best. We'll talk to you next week. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, and congratulations on 100 episodes. I was watching the Daily Puck drop while I was listening to it on the way home, and congratulations.
Thank you, sir. Yeah, it flies. It flies like that. How about that, huh? And thank you, because you guys like you and others have made it possible. So I appreciate it, Rob. Thanks for joining for this adventure. It means a lot.
Anytime.
All right.